Hello, Pacific League fans and fans-to-be. I'm Jimbo Bernicki, the newest member of the Pacific League team, and welcome to this year's edition of Making the Pitch. I interviewed some of the most die-hard fans of the Anglosphere from each of the Pacific League franchises and spoke with them about their experiences as fans in the world of Japanese baseball, all in an effort to help convince you to join their side. Welcome to Making the Pitch 2023. My guest today is Christian Lander, author of the book Stuff White People Like, and supervising producer of the television series Blackish. When he's not writing or producing hit television shows, he's an avid baseball fan and a fervent supporter of the Hokkaido Nippon-Ham Fighters. So, what did you think of last season for the Fighters?
Eh, I mean, I love Big Boss, man. That's my dude right there coming in on hovercrafts, and I love the future of the Fighters because of him, which is awesome.
No, I think the Fighters are definitely a team that's on the rise. They did have a really rough season last year, but they got a lot of really good young players. I think they can go, they can do some stuff this year, I think. Did you have
Yeah.
a favorite moment from last season? I think maybe you alluded to it there with
Yes,
Big
big
Boss.
big boss, big boss coming in on the hovercraft is probably the single greatest entrance in baseball history.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can't even think of what could be second place even in theory. Just like that's tip top right there. And so kind of like how did you become a fan of the Fighters? Like what was I can hear that you've been to Japan a couple times. So like what's sort of the
yeah,
genesis of your Fighters fandom?
it all started when I was a kid. I grew up in Toronto, and I remember Cecil Fielder left the Toronto Blue Jays for the Hanshin Tigers. And I remember when I was a kid, I was like, wait a minute, there's baseball in Japan? Like I had no clue that there was baseball in Japan. And then I kind of looked it up. And then, through the 80s and 90s, like you never got any coverage of it or anything like that. And finally took a trip to Japan in 98. I had like a stopover on my way to Malaysia. There was baseball on TV, Japanese baseball on TV, and I couldn't believe it. And so I love that. And then the last couple of years being home, the pandemic, and I really fallen in love with baseball again. I started just sort of looking around, and then I mean, look, I live in LA, and without a doubt, my favorite player in all of baseball plays 30 miles south of me,
Mhm.
and that's Shohei Ohtani. So you can't, I don't know, you just can't not love them because Ohtani was there, and then you had Big Boss in there, who's just like, I mean, I've never seen a manager bring so much style and flair and charisma and excitement from the manager. And I've read a couple books on the history of Japanese baseball, and I love his style and his like pushing back on some of the more traditional things and doing things his own way. And I love that for a manager. And I think baseball can be so stuffy and so boring. It's so cool to see somebody, especially in Japan where it's so buttoned up and everything, but to make it exciting and fun and yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would say Shinjo is like he's the first manager I've ever seen on any team, in America or abroad where like the manager's a reason to like the team. Like this guy's
Yes.
just balling. Yeah, have you seen those new uniforms they're gonna have this season that he
The ones that
designed, the
he
red
designed,
ones?
the third,
Oh.
the third one, he's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, oh.
it looks like something they'd wear in like a cartoon from the late 70s. You know what I mean? Or early
Yeah.
80s. And I just love that he's just going for it. And I think that's awesome. The new stadium also looks spectacular because
Looks
I was up in Hokkaido and
amazing.
I thought it looked amazing.
Do you have any predictions for this season for the Fighters? Where do you think they're trending?
Yeah, man, I like it's such a toss up for understanding, you know what I mean, where I think it's all gonna go. But I mean, it's the new stadium push, right? Like
Yeah.
in my life, I mean, again, being a Toronto fan, when the Skydome opened in '89, all of a sudden they got better. And so, yeah, you can't. I think it's a new stadium bounce. You can't beat that, and I think that that's going to make a big difference. Having that exciting new stadium, is just going to start a new run. Because, like, I remember for the longest time in the '90s, it was like Jays opened the Skydome in '89. 2 years, like 3 years later, they win the World Series.
Hmm.
Baltimore opened Camden Yards. They got really good for about 10 years right after that. Like there's that new stadium bounce. And I think they're gonna have it too. And I love the new stadium. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And it's just so wild for people who don't really follow the league to see this gorgeous stadium that's like the way they've done it and they take the pictures, it looks like it's straight up in the middle of the woods in Hokkaido. And I absolutely love it. And yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, and so that kind of brings us around to why should new MPB fans support your team? It is time for you to make the pitch.
Look, man, there's the single greatest baseball player who's ever lived played for the Fighters, and that's Shohei Ohtani. And so you've got to support them for that. The other reason is they're the only team on Hokkaido on the island Hokkaido. They are fans are super loyal, and man, you've got Big Boss right now. The uniforms are just going to get cooler. I mean, not to say that this is not a cool uniform and a cool vibe. I got my fighters hat on right now, but they're just going to get cooler and weirder and more awesome. And so you're not going to find a team that's going to have more personality than anywhere else in NPB.
So, for all of you out there who want to be part of a new bleeding edge trend in Japanese baseball, really the team that more than any other is always trying to innovate, always trying to do something new. Like you look at their stadium, it doesn't look like any other stadium in the league. It's you got to go with the Fighters. They are the coolest, hippest team basically. And yeah, hopefully they have a great season compared to last year. And I want to thank you very much for doing this for us today. You're very informative, and I think people will appreciate your insight.
Oh, I was also going to say, so look, if you're from the north, Hokkaido's the north, they get, if you're from the north of North America or Europe, they get very similar weather with the snow and everything like that. So that's one reason. If you're from the south, I mean, Otani. I can't say it enough. Otani, Otani, Otani.
And as always, I'd like to thank my guest Christian Lander once again, and implore you all to check out the rest of our content on Pacific League TV, as well as keep an eye out for our upcoming Making the Pitch series videos about other teams. And as always in YouTube land, please like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next time on PLTV. Take care.